As soon as you have 1 extra teaspoon of sugar, you've just entered diabetes territory. The challenge is, even if you are not a diabetic, you can still be a pre-diabetic for many years. Back in 1996, I used to work for a medical devices company, Olympus KeyMed, selling, promoting, marketing, researching endoscopic products. So this is for taking biopsies from the GI tract, both from this end and the other end. Now in my travels, I used to have lunch at any time between 12 o'clock and 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I had a problem. After lunch, probably about within 5 to 10 minutes, I needed to have a nap which was at least 10-15 minutes long. And this was the case for every single year since 1996 until earlier this year. I couldn't understand it because I wasn't eating terrible food, so I thought. I couldn't understand it because I wasn't a diabetic. What the heck was going on? In 2020, I decided to go plant-based and I went 100% plant-based, and within a week or so, my energy levels shifted. I stayed plant-based for almost 2 years, and unfortunately, this wanting to sleep after having food did not go away. It came back, and it came back with a vengeance. So is it because I'm an unhealthy person? Is it because I'm not eating well? Well, technically, I thought I was eating well. So that was the first problem. The second problem, sugar cravings. I've always had a sweet tooth. So much so, I realized the more I get to know myself, I realized it was an addiction. I was drinking copious amounts of Coca-Cola, and then I found out how much sugar there was in Coca-Cola. So I started drinking Diet Coke, which was even worse, of course, for your health. And then later on, Lucozade, and all of these are liquid sugar, and they were destroying me from inside out. And as you go through some of the episodes, you'll understand why sugar is so bad for you. The third thing was that being someone from the Indian subcontinent, one of the big staple diets for us was rice. And you'll notice that a lot of people, particularly from Bangladesh and India, end up having rice bellies because we just consume huge amounts of rice. And once again, I discovered many years later how bad that it was for me. Despite my health and fitness, the rice was also destroying my life. Not only that, as a skinny kid, so from the age of 14, I used to be super skinny. I'd do martial arts, and everyone would encourage me, Haroon, you need to eat instead of 3 times a day, eat 5 or 6 times a day. And the bodybuilders were saying the same thing. And I'd never gain weight, but B, I would end up feeling tired even more so. And of course, there's one thing, being raised up in a Muslim environment, that we did once a year, which was to fast for about 29 or 30 days during the month of Ramadan. That is good for your health. But then knowing what I know now, I realized how bad it was as well, because when I used to break the fast, we used to break it with dates, those little brown objects, not just 1 or 2 dates. I would have 5, 6, 7, 8 dates, and that would give me a massive sugar burst. Here's the thing with sugar. Your body only has 1 teaspoon of sugar in the blood at any moment in time. As soon as you have 1 extra teaspoon of sugar, you've just entered diabetes territory. So of course, being the geek that I am, I started doing the research, and I came across this simply by accident. I discovered the term insulin resistance. Insulin resistance basically means your cells are resisting the activation or the activity of the insulin, so that sugar is not able to enter the cell. And so what do you end up doing? Eating more sugar. And what does your body end up doing? Creating more insulin, which then fatigues the pancreas. The challenge is, even if you are not a diabetic, you can still be a pre-diabetic for many years. And herein lay my problem. I realize that I am a pre-diabetic. It's not a genetic thing, it's more of a cultural thing. My mother, my father, they're both diabetics, and thankfully they've been able to manage their diabetes. However, because we eat a similar diet, there is a very strong likelihood that I am also pre-diabetic. Truth be told, probably over 80% of the global population, particularly those following Western style diets, and people from Indian subcontinent have insulin resistance. In other words, it's diabetes waiting to happen or has already happened. How can you reduce your insulin resistance? Or put another way, how can you increase your insulin sensitivity? This is what this video is about. So there are many ways to approach this, but I'm going to share with you the approach that I've taken, which seems to have helped me tremendously. Number one, the most important one that I believe that has helped me the most, which is this: I've stopped eating sugar. When I say stop, 99% of the time, occasionally I'll cheat, but about 99% of my intake of food does not involve anything to do with sugar, simple sugars, or more complex sugars. That means I've stopped white potatoes, copious amounts of carrots that's got loads of sugar in, certainly the chocolates, the soda, any of the drinks that contain sugar. That's the number one. But you might say, hey Haroon, if you stop sugar, then how are you surviving? How do you do this if you're totally vegan or plant-based? Now, I don't consider myself as vegan, and I'm majority plant-based. But the problem is, being majority plant-based is the one thing that I needed most to help me with insulin resistance was missing from the diet, and that is fats. Sugar is something that's available in your bloodstream and it can be converted into energy, but it is fast burning and it leaves you depleted. So you end up with a spike in your blood sugar, and then shortly afterwards you have a drop, and usually much further drop. So if I take a teaspoon of sugar, then my body will try to remove it, and then in the end it'll take more sugar out of my system than I actually need. So I end up wanting to sleep. So sugar is gone. So instead of sugar, I introduce fats. How did I do this? Every morning I take high quality coffee beans, manually roast them, grind them, and then I will stick it into a cafetiere and let that steep for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes. And then afterwards, I will then stick that coffee into a blender, put a tablespoon of butter, a tablespoon of coconut oil, because it has something called MCT in it, and I will blend them together. That is also known as a bullet coffee. Once I've blended it, I will drink it, and guess what? For the next few hours, I will not get hungry because that fat is being converted into energy and is being converted slowly. The other thing, of course, you might say, well, hello Haroon, if I'm overweight, I'm insulin resistant, and I'm eating fat, aren't I going to get fat? Well, paradoxically, no. When you're not consuming fats, your body's thinking, hey, I need to create fat stores just in case I end up in a starving situation. So when you introduce fat into your body says, well, I'm getting fat coming in, I don't need to preserve anything. Now, I know this works because one of my closest friends has lost huge amounts of weight simply by doing a couple of the things I'm about to share with you. I've already mentioned that I eradicated sugar, but one of the things I didn't mention was I used to eat lots of bananas and lots of fruits. Here's the problem, that we've been told that we're supposed to have anything between 5 and 7 fruits and vegetables a day. Problem, all those fruits that you're eating has got huge sugar content, including bananas, including grapes. So I decided I will cut them out. Have I felt lethargic or tired as a result? Hell no, I've got a lot more energy. So taking fruits is increasing your sugar intake, so I've decided to cut them out. The next thing I decided to do was to eradicate another problem in my digestive system, which is inflammation. Chronic inflammation is behind all chronic pain and chronic diseases. So what causes inflammation? Well, milk causes inflammation, sugar helps in causing inflammation, and wheat-based products. So I've eradicated most breads. The only kind of bread I will eat is gluten-free bread, and I will eat that sparingly. If you're somebody who's from the Indian subcontinent and you're eating stuff like rice, stop it. You will survive, because I believed once upon a time, if I don't eat 2 meals that include rice twice a day plus breakfast, then I am going to starve to death. Hello? I've stopped rice for a good few months and I can even see my six-pack finally. The next thing is, growing up being told that I needed to eat 4 or 5 times a day so I can gain weight is the worst piece of advice anyone's given me, because your body needs a break from eating. Imagine this. Imagine you are driving a car and your tires are being used to the max. In other words, you're braking hard, you're traveling long distances. Eventually, once your tires have been overused, they'll be worn out. In the small intestine, we have something called villi or villi. These are the protrusions within the small intestine that absorb the nutrients into your body. When you eat constantly, you're gonna wear away your villi, especially with some of the junk food that you eat. And if it's heavily meat based, it will wear away your villi, and eventually this will also lead to leaky gut. So I decided to eat just once or twice a day. Despite being someone who's a so-called normal weight, I have not lost any weight as a result. However, for people who are overweight, of course, eating once or twice a day will make a big difference. This leads me on to one of the most powerful ways to reduce so many of the diseases and insulin resistance. It is called time restricted eating or intermittent fasting. What does that mean? Intermittent fasting is not the same as Muslims fast, which is dry fasting for 17, 18, 20 hours a day. It's not the same thing. You can drink coffee, you can have herbal teas, you can drink water, but just no nutritious food. You don't have any juices, you don't have any foods like chips or salad, so all of that's cut out. Intermittent fasting or time restricted fasting in essence means you give yourself a very small window of time to eat your food. So that window could be anything between 4 and 6 hours. Think about it. 8 of those hours in the 24 hours you are asleep. That's 8 hours. That leaves you with 16 hours. In essence, you got to pick a 4 or a 6 hour window in which you decide, I'm going to eat whatever I like, kind of, and I'm not going to eat beyond these hours. That means your 8 hours while you're asleep, your digestive system is taking a bit of a break. And 16 minus 6 hours, that leaves you with another 10 hours where the rest of your system, your immune system, your cardiovascular system, everything else has an opportunity to thrive, to be boosted. And your digestive system is not going to be stressed by the continuous consumption of food. The question is, has my insulin resistance gone down? Well, number one, I no longer have to sleep after I've eaten. There's not a massive sugar spike, primarily because I will eat protein, I'll eat fat, I won't eat carbohydrate, I'll certainly have huge amounts of salad. My desire to sleep after lunch, the graveyard shift, it's over. Second thing, my sugar cravings have gone. The only time I have any kind of sugar cravings is if I haven't slept properly, and I'll make a whole video on that another time. So if I've only had 4, 5, 6 hours sleep and I've slept late, I might have a sugar craving the following day. Besides those rare occasions, my sugar craving's gone. The third thing is, when I have eaten something like a cake because I've been invited to a party or something, it feels horrible, it feels obnoxious. So I know that my body is becoming a lot more insulin sensitive. It knows that certain foods are no longer good for you. So I hope this video has been useful. Please have a go. I'll make some more videos on how to deal with insulin resistance a lot more in detail, but this one is all about my own personal experience. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.